Good. I think this is the last talk session, and we have a panel ahead of us. And we have been hearing about generative AI a lot, right? And so, right from ChatGPT to I don't know whether you have heard machines that can generate video content. So it's all about generative content, right? And we have something called computational model of mind. And how many of you believe that we have created the computational model of mind? Just raise your hand. Computational model of mind. Does anybody believe that we have created the computational model of mind? Anybody here? No. We have yet to understand more about it, right? So if I utter the word apple, right, what comes to your mind or your mental model of apple is very different from somebody in 20s or in early teens, right? They may think about the iPhone 15, right? You'll feel the taste, right? Somebody else would see the color. This is where we stand, right? And my agenda is just to tell you that, see, we were living all along in the era of Turing test where imitation learning, Professor Misra was talking about, right? There is this human question answer pairs and there is a machine trying to mimic, right? And two rooms, we have the machine and the human. Interrogator asks questions and trying to figure out who is human and who is machine, and unable to, right? We have passed that era and we live in an era of what is called the Chinese room argument. Have you heard of this? Chinese room argument, where there is this room full of Mandarin content, right? Index. And he has a rule book written in English which says how to retrieve documents for the questions that's being presented to him. Questions comes to the room, Mandarin, right? The person, without knowing any Mandarin, is able to answer back. And this is where, right? This is where we have to doubt, right? Our chat GPTs of the world must be doing this, right? A smart indexing, identification of the patterns would definitely make us mimic. Imitation may not be the only capability that the mind do have, right? Let's move on. And I'm sure many of your earlier speakers must have shown you. This is 23 hype cycle, Gartner hype cycle. And where do we stand in terms of generative AI? We are at the peak of inflated expectations, and that must have brought many of you here, including me. We are at the peak of inflated expectation when it comes to ChatGPT. Whether it solve all our world's problems, do you believe so? And what is ahead is basically a realization, right? We'll be moving to a trough of disillusionment, and we should move. Three questions in front of you, and I'm here not to talk about a lot on technology, but rather talk about an opportunity. And this slide talks about this machine, right? Has multiple options. Is AI sitting at the core of the machine and trying to figure out what to do, and conflicting priorities. Do you think you need human in the loop when it comes to, or machines can be left in an autonomous fashion at this point in time? The car needs to decide between whether I should protect myself, protect pedestrians, or protect my passengers, or right? Good to have a human in the loop, and we keep seeing that, right? That's the first point that I want to make. Let me show you. I'm sure many of you must have seen this this video. This is actually published in Google Labs. Video is on humans collaborating, a human collaborating with AI, generative AI. This is the OpenAI conference, and I'll not show the entire. It's a 17 minutes thing. We'll see 3 or 4 minutes and then stop.
Hello. Hello, everyone. My name is Dan Deacon. Thanks for coming here early. It's a real pleasure to be sharing the stage with some of my all-time favorites, Gmail and Google Calendar. So I'm gonna play some songs, and a lot of the content's gonna be made using Finaki and Bard and Musical M. And so I'm just going to get started. This first one is a song of mine called When I Was Done Dying, and the video was generated using the lyrics to this song. So thanks so much. Check, 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 check. When I was done dying, my conscience regained, so I began my struggles to run with it. Straight down the flesh made of time. Before blasting up, and it startled me so when I burst out the shout. My legs ran frantic, lowered from the nest, and I ran until brain leaving no choice but rest. So I balanced softly at the edge of the cave, but I should have gone deeper. The fire so great, and I was torn out, thrown in the sky. Down, surely some footsteps into one into the how my skin getting slowly more in my shirt. Shut a tree and that tree grew up fruit. They came to see and the sea was a brick. I fall through the ground with my roots and my leaves. Tore the shirt and the sleeves that and what is your plan? But the question was before I could not understand the some placed it on the swallowed me down and shot by itself water. Well, I woke up to see that there's too many seas with the
What is the show on? What is it on? Have you seen the video being generated near real time with the words being uttered by the artist? So humans can collaborate and do wonders. And this is the show that Google has shown, right, a few months back, Google I/O conference. So you have a set of tools where humans can collaborate, right? Can collaborate with AI. Do we have an opportunity in front of us? And currently we are using AI as a tool, right? And the question is, will we be working for robots? And we are already, right, the moment we are actually training, creating data for robots to learn. Are we going to a context where the doctor, right? Let's be very specific. A doctor who looks at imaging, the outputs of imaging technologies, the radio diagnostics doctor, right? Assist a robot to do it better. And Professor Misra was talking about human assisted curating of generative capabilities. Right? Reports can be generated. And do you know that machines can do this better now, at least in a theoretical setting? And this is one of the most aspirational profession that a postgraduate doctor would have, right? Radio diagnosis. And I don't know whether to what extent we'll have that profession, right? So we may have to have a context, and this is another context. Again, another video.
Generative AI is transforming healthcare with synthetic data, unlocking high-quality, unbiased data for medical device companies, pharmaceutical companies, and academic medical centers, leading to faster discoveries and improved patient outcomes. Generative models can help identify complex disease mechanisms, predict clinical outcomes, and prescribe tailored treatments for patients. MONAI, a framework for building and deploying medical AI, is also advancing generative AI with methods to create large synthetic data sets for training generalizable AI models that can learn from evolving patient data while preserving patient privacy. The latent diffusion model is a breakthrough in generative AI for medical imaging and is being developed by King's College London, co-founders of Monai. This model can generate synthetic medical images of the human anatomy, including high-resolution brain images. It was trained on the UK Biobank dataset and NVIDIA DGX Cloud in just 1 week, enabling researchers to control global and regional brain volumes and adjust for age, gender, and disease. Generative AI is already making an impact in clinical settings. King's College London and University College London have developed a novel transformer-based outlier detector that aids in clinical evaluation of deployed segmentation models. The results suggest that this approach can be used to ensure only expected and good quality data reaches downstream decision-making algorithms. NVIDIA, Mount Sinai, and East River Imaging have collaborated to develop a new generative AI model for medical imaging known as RAD-ImageGAN. By utilizing the StyleGAN XL model and training it on the RAD-ImageNet dataset, RAD-ImageGAN has become the most diverse synthetic data generator for 2D medical imaging. The model is pre-trained, robust, and adaptable to create other 2D medical imaging models, providing greater flexibility for medical researchers and professionals. Overall, generative AI models such as RAD-ImageGAN and latent diffusion models are driving a revolution in healthcare. They provide high-quality data that can be used to train deep learning models, leading to improved patient outcomes and enhanced performance of medical imaging models. To access these models, visit the NVIDIA NGC catalog or the Monai Model Zoo. Ready to join the future of healthcare powered by generative AI? Join the Monai.
Generative AI, as we see here, can augment human creativity or human decision-making skills, right? Or generative AI can help us explore more on the data space. That's what we just saw. With the synthetic data being generated in the medical space, you can have all the options being created, right? Augmentation is an opportunity. Can collaborate. We may work for them. They may create data for us, right? Can we go further? You can get the code of this in the GitHub. It's called DragGAN. What does this bring on the table? Somebody can draw in a collaborative environment, can convert those drawings to pictures. AI can help you modify this, right? AI can create pictures, AI can help, generative AI can help to modify this. What next? What's the next item in the list to collaborate? Yes? What's the next item? It's again, this is called clothing GAN. Let me play this. You get the code from GitHub. what does this talk about? This particular research talks about, you can combine. Generative AI can help you to combine the efforts of the collective. Humans and AI agents collaborate to build a better world. Can seemingly simple agents, somebody who will appreciate music, would work with not somebody, a group of people who can appreciate good music, would work with this AI, collaborate in a collaborative platform and work in a collaborative platform. And there are people who can appreciate visual content. There are people who can appreciate what? Combining the two, and all these people collaborate to build what? An AI generated movie? Possible? Yes. The bestseller, what do you call it? Novel, which has visual content in it. The possibilities are many, right? So AI, I mean, the generative AI in the current form, what it does is it can augment human creativity. Our collective intelligence talks about intelligence of the masses. How do collective collaborate to achieve bigger task? Can you combine both? Where you don't need specialists, right? Do you need specialists? You may need specialists to curate at times, but collective can work together to build wonders. How does it happen? Is it possible today? It's basically I've taken a picture from the Hugging Face context. David was talking about this. So there is this generative AI, and I think you must be observing this now, right? A lot. You generate something with your generative AI, and then you push it to the network. The network sees that, hey, this guy has written or drawn a good picture. Let me also work on it, right? And you'll ask like your friend, what was your prompt, right? I think you had a session on prompt engineering, right? Prompt engineering? Yes, no? Yeah, prompt engineering is about how do you interact with your AI to get get your thoughts across. Because when it comes to any experience design, understanding the user's what do you call mind. Somebody asked like the black box, right? Even on a search context, search is the most contextual thing. Because you come there to find out something. That's why Google can price their AdWords at that cost, right? But a random click won't. So poster ads may not be that costly. But search, you have a purpose, and chat, you have I would say, you are more contextualized. Understanding the intent is an interesting aspect. And one of the early decisions that a search engine does is basically intent classification. Identify what is the purpose this guy must be. I mean, I'm talking about Apple, right? So Apple can mean a lot. Java can mean a fruit, right? An island, right? It can be the language. So intent identification and then putting things across is definitely a particular, I mean, it's an interesting problem in the space of search or the conventional web. And now we are looking into what is called there is this new poster boy on the block called generative AI, and you need to ask, right? Say it's a question being asked to generative AI, you get a contextualized answer. The answer that the engine will spit out will depend on what you ask, right? How do you position your prompt, which is true for your generating your images using whatever. So this is, I mean, how do you place the right prompt into the AI is called the prompt engineering. And then see, there is a prompt being given to the AI, and the prompt has resulted in certain content being generated, and you actually share that content in your social platform. This is the Web 2.0 world. Web 2.0 world. So, and then somebody asks like, hey, how you generate this, right? You return, and then that person will improvise the prompt and then getting back to the, may design a better content. So this is called the network effect. This is happening in the current era also. Can we go beyond that? And how many people work in open source world? At least exposed to the open source world? Interesting, right? And I'm talking about that. So this is already happening, right? You have content being created, your prompt being shared, and people working on the prompt and the content to see whether you can do better, which is basically the network effect. And then can you feed it back to the developer community, where the developers do feel that yes, these kind of explorations are already happening, and then getting back to the network of developers, then trying to figure out how do you basically try to follow the network. So network effect on both sides, on the developer side as well as the user side. This can do magic. And only few. This is 2023, and only few. I think I've seen a few people at Google talking about this, and Hugging Face. These are the only places where I've seen people talking about this opportunity. And many of you may be aspiring to do research, PhD, and exploration in this space. And the reason why I thought, being the last session here, is I just want to talk about this opportunity. If you can bring in the intelligence of the collective, which is basically, there is a lot of literature on, right from our ant colony optimization to particle swarms and things of that kind. And there is even a political party which talks about this. What is the name of the party? The Pirates Party, Europe. The Pirates Party in the Europe, right? So it's work on the principle of swamps. And there is this new kit, which is generative AI, which can augment individuals' creativity. Right? I can write a better essay because I can ask, and then I get some inputs, and then I refine. Then there is a network where I do share, and the network effect comes in. The network can give a feedback back to the network of developers who can design better models, put it back onto the ecosystem. Right? What will happen is, you don't need highly specialized creative professionals. They can only curate, and we may get into a context where many of us, right, may not be, right, 20 years down the line, many so-called expert may be only curating, working for a collaborative robotic ecosystem, where collaborative intelligence and the generative AI would do magic. Okay? Is it interesting to at least some of you? Yes? No? And this is, people are talking about generative AI, and then lot happening there. Basically, like, people are using it right from a strategy design to the customer relationship management professional being. You ask, like, I'm sure, from a college at somewhere in northern part of Kerala, I've seen somebody using a robot to basically, like, mimic the handwriting, which is there, right? You've seen it, right? Many of you. So ChatGPT can answer, right, a question to a reasonable thing, and this fellow can write. You get it, right? You don't need. So this is where we stand, and people are smarter. So industry is leveraging ChatGPT for many purposes, right from asking the question, answering the question, which is the customer relationship management executive at the front desk to the end. Basically, the strategy being identified by a generative thing. And this is a survey from McKinsey around, and has been, I'm not going to the details of it. The interesting part is the last part. No exposure and don't know. This is basically being surveyed on multiple segments, multiple locations, office locations, and then by industry, by job title, by age, born 64 or earlier, born 65, 80 or beyond that, or whatever, gender and identity and all that. The last part is no exposure and don't exposure is typically the percentage is around 25%. This is a McKinsey 2023 survey. And people are aware that, yeah, this opportunity exists. So, which means that industry will definitely, right? And they are already in the game. fact, this is another interesting slide. Basically, we may think that the repetitive, because I also keep talking, anything which is repetitive, AI will replace, right? We also have to think about, is there a decline in the demand, right? So when it comes to personal care home, you can see that 22 to 2030 is what the prediction is. There's a huge increase, and then bookkeeping, accounting, or whatever, right? It's basically coming down, right? There are many reasons, are many. Maybe some sort of automation, right? And I'm sure you must have worked or at least heard of the RPA world, right? The robotic process automation. Yes. RPA is nothing but rule-based AI. Basically, the rules of the game is being written is scripted, and then the fellow does the same job every other day. So which means that I can run the code any number of times, I can replicate his work. So, and cognitive RPA, say for example, you plug in an image processing also so that it can read a little of handwritten content and then process it. It's also possible. Cognitive RPA is also in place. It's not because generative AI. I want to bring this picture primarily because it's not just because of generative AI. Jobs are going to vanish. The rule-based AI, the conventional automation itself, the job roles are coming down. So there is the future of work is not just about, and only in the context where, right, there's a potential automate the jobs, then we may have to worry. And the next slide talks a little more detail on this context. Basically, this is change in labor demand and divided into four quadrants. And this is basically the lower is all about increase in automation adoption driven by generative artificial intelligence, generative AI. This left, you can see that health professionals and see somebody who needs a human touch. Do you think a lot of automation will happen? At least at the current context, we may have to accept that may not be very, very, very much possible, right? At least the current context. Look at the other side. And this is where most of we sit. We see STEM, right? Do we need, right? And there's demand. It's on the higher side, meaning you need a lot more, professions on the STEM side. And the opportunity to automate that also with generative AI is also on the high side. And if, for example, this is on the lower side, you can see like production, food services, transportation, or whatever, basically, or customer service, sales, or whatever. There the potential of increasing jobs is already on the decline. This side, customer service, sales. It's not because there is generative AI. The trivial AI, the trivial rule-based automation has already taken away most of its jobs. So they are not going to get affected very much. And we are. So which means that, see this side, change in labor demand is also on the high. Potential to automate is on the high. This is in the high side. Which means that textbooks may tomorrow be written by smart kids with AI-enabled generation capabilities curated by the best of the breed scientists across the globe. You don't need possibly, the bookmaking robots, or rather the humans who can only write books. So the researchers may curate students along with AI to write the best textbooks on any domain, which is possible. That's what it is. Demand is there. Demand doesn't mean that. And conventional rule-based automation doesn't work there. Generative AI may do magic. That's what it says. This is again from McKinsey, especially in the American context. The US context. 2023. Having said all this is interesting. We live in an era of autonomous weapons. Responsible AI being sounded everywhere. And there are many policy dimensions, European Union, Singapore, United States of America, and even India do we have some regulations out there? There are some reports on Niti Aayog, and all the recent reports on Niti Aayog on AI is titled as a responsible AI. 2021, you can see a few, and then very recently also, it's all talking about responsible AI. Do you think responsible AI is interesting in this context of generative, collaborative intelligence? Yes. Think of seemingly harmless agents collaborating together, right? And humans, it doesn't need to have any expertise, right? Because AI will help them to maneuver through the mess. And they working as a swarm. Is it dangerous? It is, right? It's much more dangerous than individual agents collaborating with humans at an individual level, which is what we generally see. Like, and this student is actually sort of figuring out, right, the essay. And very recent, conversation. I was talking to a group of school teachers, and this is basically like I asked the ChatGPT to write an essay and then give it back to the ChatGPT and asked, like, give me a score. And it said, yeah, I'm a AI engine. I cannot give you a score, rather. And then I said, okay, that's fine. Give me a grade. And I defined the grade. And then it gave the grade. And it gave me like kind of, it was not giving the best grade. It was slightly not in the mid-range, but slightly better than that. I asked, like, why? Said, like, I'm trained on certain data, which is which I'm not very confident. That's one side of it. Second is, like, I asked, like, give me a list of the best artists or whatever, right? And gave me a list of artists primarily from the Western world, and said, like, yeah, I don't see any Asians here. Then ChatGPT said, what? Sorry, here is a refined list, right? You get that list, right? And I don't see any Indians there. Then ask. Then I was like, why are you? Looks like you are biased, because then it's like, yeah. Again, the answer is more or less on the same context, saying, like, okay, I'm an AI engine, and I am being trained on certain data, and the data says certain things. And as Professor Misra said, it's all about the initial generation of patterns, and my feedback may not have been got into that context, right? And this is how it is, right? And think of a context where multiple such agents creating content and swarming, right, our content space, right? And we now talk about fact checks and things of that kind, only on the content space. Is it dangerous? Yes, that's where it is. And that's where regulations has to be in. And there are certain attempts. This is one of the, and even Kela is trying to do something in space. This is done by one of my friend, Santosh Misra, IAS, who is retired. Basically, like, he moved out of IAS, and then he has created a framework called DeepMax. This was for Tenega in Tamil Nadu. The framework talks about when you deploy AI, not generative AI in particular, what are the things that you need to
Excuse
look
me,
at?
sir, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but we're forced to conclude the session due to time constraints.
Yeah, sure. So all I want to say is, we all talk about compliance. Compliance is in the context of law. Basically, and ethics is not about compliance. Ethics is doing the right thing. And because of time constraint, I will stop here, and I would be happy to, yes. Competition? No, it's not. I don't have a slide. Yeah, let me get your question. No, computational mind. Computational mind. There is literature on computational modeling the mind. There's something called computational model of mind. I was talking about that. Are we able to reach there? So people are talking about what is called artificial general intelligence, AGI. AGI is all about mimicking the human. And one of the ways in which mimicking the human is trying to understand the mind and build an equivalent model of mind, which is called the computational model of mind. And the current imitation learning, we are able to mimic the human behavior. Are we reaching the space which the computational mind aims to? Was my question. Yeah. Maybe I can take one or two questions, and yes.
You mentioned that generative AI can enhance augment human creativity.
Can augment.
Augment.
I never said enhance. Can augment.
Augment.
Yeah.
Then there could be no further job reservation.
No. There will be still, say for example, that man walking in rain is still coming from walking in rain, and the rain is heavy, still come from the human mind. Generative AI will picturize it, help him to represent it better, right?
So a human brain augmentation could do away with.
No, it is basically like that's my first slide was on that. This is called the Chinese room argument. At least in the current context, we are unable to mimic, to build what is called the computational model of mind. And
not too distant future.
I don't think unless otherwise we explore the entire, or unless we understand what a mind is all about, right?
Sure.
See that person in rain is coming from the representation that we do have as a mental model, which we don't know what it is. Yes.
Okay.